So, Dr. Amrut, welcome to Learn with Leaders series. Thank you so much for accepting this invite. So, Dr. Amrut, you lead multiple geographies and you have cut across the scale of businesses across the globe for many years. And now that you recently attended the Leadership for Senior Executives program at Harvard, how has this changed your perspective and understanding of the global business scenario?
So thanks, Anil. Thanks for having me. So one of the most important learnings at the Harvard Business School was that global isn't a geography anymore. In my mind, it's a mindset related to curiosity. It's a mindset of adaptability, and that's an important learning which I take back from my the intervention that we had at the HBS. Speaking specifically about the interventions that we've had and my key learnings from that intervention with respect to my global understanding, I think the first aspect was in terms of my exposure to the diverse networks that I had. So this was an opportunity for me to not just learn from the case studies, the numerous case studies that were presented to us, which is a hallmark of the way HBS conducts its sessions, but also I think the opportunity to collaborate and learn from the various transnational leaders who participated in the session. So I think that peer learning was a very important aspect, and that really helped me to understand how regulatory, cultural and economic nuances can play an important role or can help shape business strategies. Now, talking about the Zydus context, obviously from the functionality that I lead, it in a way validated my thinking of global versus local. I think we had a beautiful case study at the Harvard Business School on Vodafone, and I think that correlated to me very well in terms of how your global approaches need to be tailor-made to the local realities. And that amalgamation of global thinking and local execution, what was really a key differentiator in my learning at the Harvard Business School. The second important aspect really brought about systems thinking. And systems thinking here means how interconnected the world is today in terms of supply chain, in terms of digital transformation. I mean, how do you reimagine the world with these two aspects in mind? How do they cut across the important aspects of making sure that we are able to mitigate our risks, both the geopolitical risks and the supply chain risks, in terms of we seizing better opportunities that are available in the market? And third aspect, which in my mind was the most important one, was in terms of inclusive leadership. I think this collaboration that we had with the 50 plus leaders whom I had the opportunity to interact with clearly came out two important aspects of leadership in today's time. One is, of course, empathy, and the other one is adaptability. For global success, in my mind, that is now an imperative to really lead. And particularly from a Zydus context, we deal with the multicultural workforce. We manage multicultural partners. We work in all the three worlds, whether it is the underdeveloped, the developing, or the developed world. Two aspects that came out very clearly in terms of your success. One is adaptability and the other one is empathy. I mean, if you are able to demonstrate those traits, I mean, they are no longer, an option, but I think they're becoming very critical traits required to be demonstrated by every leader. So that in my mind, brought about a significant degree of different thinking and opened up very different perspective from what I learned at the HBS.
So, Dr. Amrut, you are a global leader and lead diverse geographies. So, what aspects of learning that you gathered at Harvard can be used and applied to the business outcomes at Zydus?
Yeah, so thanks for asking me that. One of the most important takeaway for me was this differentiation between leader and leadership. Leadership is a process of influencing others to change the way they look at outcomes or they realize outcomes. If leadership is a process, one of the most important learning for us was leadership can be honed, it can be trained, it can be learned. Leaders are born, leadership is developed. And therefore, I think if leadership can be developed, obviously it can play a very important role in terms of changing the way your colleagues, your subordinates look at you in terms of the inspirations that you can basically emanate them for them to produce better results. And therefore, in that light, one of my key learnings at the Harvard Business School was organizations, for them to be successful, they cannot just be adaptable to change. They really need to design the future. And therefore, in that light, I think 6 important aspects that came out, which I'd like to make a comment on, will play a very important role in shaping the global organization, particularly from the Zydus context. I think first one is almost a non-negotiable in terms of being an agile organization. When we are working in an environment that is fraught with so much of volatility, bunny world, as we say, it's very important to strategize in terms of pivoting from what we do today to becoming a more agile organization in terms of producing better outcomes. So I think strategic agility is today no longer a choice, but it's an imperative. The second important lens that we really were exposed to at the HBS was in terms of design thinking and innovation. And I would like to reimagine design thinking and innovation in the light of patient-centric solutions. We have always talked about patient centricity as a key aspect that we would like to do in the future, or that we are doing, that will guide us in our future. In that sense, 2 aspects really came out. One was in terms of launching what is known as empathy sprints. So can we at Zydus have the cross-functional leaders, let's say R&D teams or our manufacturing teams or even our commercial teams, go to some rural settings and see the patient journey, how the patient actually goes through, with respect to you getting newer ideas in terms of developing newer solutions, because rural settings are the settings where there is significant amount of constraints, and therefore that will give you a lot of understanding with respect to how you design your solutions for the patient in a rural setting. So launching what is known as empathy sprints can be an important step from the Zydus context. The second thing is, inculcating this whole culture of fail fast. Okay. In terms of really advancing, experimentation, failing fast, learning from those failures, and then again rising up and using that as pivot for our next steps. So I think this fail fast culture needs to be brought in. And here I'd like to talk about, if we can allow some of our, we are all very, very proud of our R&D backgrounds and the innovation, spirit that we all, is deeply entrenched within the Zydus spirit. In that light, can we empower our scientists, to, let's say 20% of their time can for some high risk experimentations, and then whatever you learn from that, can you then go back and use those experimentations, those learnings from those experimentations for you to become better, solutions provider in the future. So those are the key aspects in my mind, which talks about design thinking. And I remember to have spent 1 full day on design thinking as innovation there. The third aspect is on data. I think data is no longer a choice. I think it's a strategic asset to have. And we all understand that AI empowered companies, obviously outperform their peers in every sense. And I think the importance of data cannot be undermined in any aspect. So obviously the importance of data in whatever you do, whether you are in a science, whether your functionality is in science or building science, or whether the functionality is in terms of the commercial, I think data will play a very important role. The fourth aspect is in terms of cost as an important aspect, whether in manufacturing, whether it is in the R&D systems, or whether it is in commercial functions. How do you use cost as a critical lever in terms of innovation was something that came up very, very strongly. The next aspect was about talent management. And I think a function that is very dear to you. Talent, how can we imagine talent as a multiplier, in the sense of it being a competitive advantage to us? Because today, organizations are successful based on the talent strategy that a successful organization has. And therefore, today, talent management, talent retention, should be looked at as a multiplier for business, rather than looking at it just as a part of the normal L&D process. And finally, I think purpose-driven organization. We all are, as leaders, always try to balance profit with purpose, particularly in emerging markets. If we can extract the cash flows from our generic business and use that some amount of that to make sure that we also contribute to the larger cause of the society in development, particularly in countries like Africa, which have a very low infrastructure on the healthcare system. So how can we really balance profit and purpose is going to be an important aspect. So I think these are some of the levers that came out very strongly in terms of from my functionality in terms of driving the business forward.
Dr. Amrut, we practice the culture of innovation at Zydus. How do the learning and leadership practices which you experienced at Harvard resonate with the culture of innovation in our organization?
Thank you. So one of my biggest, or I would say the greatest lessons at the HBS was that innovation and leadership are systemic. If you embed the principles of, let's say, having a culture of psychological safety, I talked about strategic agility, and more importantly, innovation. If you embed everything together, I think we really are crafting a framework for the future for the organization. Now, what I mean by culture of psychological safety, obviously, when you are in the space of saying that we need to fail fast, experiment fast, get up fast, and run fast, when you are really inculcating this culture of strategic agility, I think this culture of psychological safety is required, because HBS research has shown, which was demonstrated to us in multiple times and multiple case studies, that only if you are able to provide that psychological safety to your colleagues for experimenting newer things, organizations really can thrive.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think rewarding what is known as intelligent failures, where you are able to get some key learnings from them, will enable us really craft the future for us. So I think that is an important aspect in terms of creating that psychological safety net for your colleagues in terms of taking those punts, taking those experiments. Then the other aspect, I would also like to talk about from the Zydus context is, can we also regularly inculcate this culture of reverse mentoring, where, let's say, younger people, younger scientists, can they come up with some ideas that can really, or some newer trends that are happening in the areas of research and development? Can they basically go back to their senior leaders and can they discuss some of those newer trends?
Yeah.
So this is what I say, reverse mentoring. Can we bring about this culture of reverse mentoring? So I think these are two very important aspects. One is in terms of creating that culture of psychological safety, in terms of encouraging what is known as intelligent failures. And the second aspect is about reverse mentoring, can really help us create that culture of innovation within the organization. The second aspect, is about the various roles of leaders. And this was beautifully narrated to us of what are the four important roles of a leader. Leader as a beacon in terms of illuminating the surrounding, providing that direction to the organization. The second one is imagining leader as an architect in terms of laying the path. The third one was leader as a coach, not playing the game on themselves, but letting the team, perform at the fullest throttle. And the fourth one was leader as a change agent of change and innovation. I think those were the four important aspects of leader that came out very, very strongly during the interventions that we went through. And therefore, from an innovation standpoint, from a beacon standpoint, how can we as leaders really create that vision of innovation in everything that we do, and here I don't mean innovation is only related to products that we are, often the cliched innovation has now become quite cliched in the context of we imagining innovation, everything in terms of the products that we offer.
Yeah.
But innovation can refer to a wide range of things that we do. Innovation can also cut across areas like even solving a difficult problem. When you are troubleshooting a complex issue, that is also innovation. So from our context, even when a rep approaches a non-prescribing doctor and converts him to a prescribing doctor, that is also sense of innovation. So this whole framework that we think through, about innovation and products being embedded together, I think that really helped us to think beyond the innovation side of going and thinking beyond products and really applying to the way we think and function as leaders. So that has been a very important aspect of leadership lessons that I learned at the Harvard Business School.